Returning from a family trip to France, trouble erupted at the airport. My son's wife, who prides herself on her French language study abroad, couldn't understand the airport staff's French. She smirked and said to me, "Here's your chance to show off your French skills, mother-in-law. You can speak it, right?" It was clear she wanted to embarrass me in public. I wonder if I can speak it well. She looked at me hesitating and lacking confidence and chuckled. I sighed and opened my mouth. "You're deceiving me, mother-in-law. You have a bad character." "I had no intention of deceiving you. I just didn't want to show off," I added in my mind, unlike someone here. My irritation grew as we talked. I've put up with my son's wife's numerous insults because they seemed happy together, but I've reached my limit. What can I do to make this woman regret her actions? I'm Letitia Sterling, a 67-year-old housewife. When I was young, I was bullied by my mother-in-law. Even when my husband Blake intervened, it didn't stop until she developed dementia and was placed in a facility. Based on that experience, I vowed to myself that if I ever had a daughter-in-law, I would never harass her and would try to get along. Time passed, and my young son Owen got a job after high school and started living alone. He showed no signs of marrying, even after turning 30. But last year he finally brought home Vicky, whom he'd met through work. They had a modest wedding ceremony with just family and set up a new home in the city. Vicky, who works for a large corporation, apparently earns more than Owen, but I didn't care as long as they were happy. But it seems Vicky didn't feel the same. "Everyone in this house only has a high school diploma, right?" That was Vicky's line when she visited with Owen during a long weekend. She said it while sipping the tea I made and eating my homemade cake at the garden table. Vicky smirked and spoke proudly. "My whole family either has a bachelor's or master's degree, so I don't understand how high school graduates feel. And you all went to a public high school where tuition is free." We all attended a public high school known for its high educational level and competitive entrance exams. But I just muttered to myself and didn't say it out loud. "You can only afford a house like this with a high school diploma. My parents' house is so big, it's tiring to walk around." She seemed to feel superior by looking down on us. Our house may be small, but it's a cute one with a garden and a parking space. When I said that to Vicky, she suddenly squealed. "Where is this tea from? Mother-in-law, it's so delicious." "Oh, really? It's from a well-known shop in France." "You have great taste. The cake goes well with the tea. Teach me how to make it next time." "Thank you. That's nice to hear." I was puzzled by Vicky's sudden change in attitude. Then Blake and Owen, who had finished pruning the trees, appeared from behind the shed. She changed her attitude because they came back. I was more amazed than angry at Vicky, who was chatting with Blake with a big smile. During the summer vacation, while Owen and Blake were out shopping, Vicky, who was fiddling with her mobile phone, asked me, "Do you know what il n'y a pas de problème means, Mom?" It's what you say when someone is concerned about you, like it's okay, no problem. Then Vicky suddenly burst into laughter. "It's okay, it's tout va bien. High school education really doesn't cut it, huh?" I looked at Vicky, who was laughing frivolously, with a feeling of indifference. Well, she's not entirely wrong, but... "Look, I've lived in France as a child, so I'm confident in my French. You have to know at least the basics to communicate with international staff. Oh, but I guess you don't need French for a part-time job at a frozen food factory." She sneers at me. Just as I'm getting annoyed by Vicky's comment, I hear the front sliding door open. Vicky's expression changes as if she's flipped a switch. "What's going on? You both look like you're having fun." "Owen, welcome home. We're just talking about French."
Vicky lived in Paris as a child. She's a repatriate."
"I just heard. That's impressive." I respond while looking at Vicky, who puffs out her chest. Even if you lived abroad with your parents, it was when you were a child, and Paris no less. I swallow my lingering irritation as I see Blake and Vicky happily watching TV. I don't want to ruin a family gathering. Probably I'm the only one who finds Vicky annoying. If I can just endure it, things will eventually smooth out and we'll get along. That's how I try to think positively and go about my days. Then one day, Vicky calls to invite us on a trip to France. She wants to visit her friends who moved there and thought it would be a good opportunity for a family trip. Over the weekend, my son and his wife come home and discuss the travel plans with Blake and me. Mother-in-law, it's a chance to experience authentic French. It's perfect for beginners. Blake starts to say something, but I shake my head. That sounds like fun, Blake. Can you take time off?
I should be able to at the beginning of next month.
I'll talk to my workplace too. What about you, Owen?
I can also take time off at the beginning of the month.
Vicky smiles contentedly. Then it's settled. Are we good with a free plan?
I can speak a little, so it's fine.
We'll leave it up to you, Vicky. Got it. I start to look forward to the trip as I find many exciting tourist spots online. A month later, we finally arrive in France. When we get to the hotel we booked in Paris, Vicky, seemingly unfazed by the long flight, cheerfully says, I'll handle the check-in at the front desk. Leave it to me. Please do. Blake, Owen, and I sit on the lobby sofa, admiring the luxurious chandelier hanging from the high ceiling, and other monuments as we wait. But we're not being shown to our room. I quietly approach the front desk and find Vicky struggling with her French. I don't want to step in and hurt her pride, so I go back to the sofa and wait quietly. Eventually, we're led to our room. That front desk clerk couldn't understand my French. Are they from the countryside or something? Even after we got to the room, Vicky continues to complain. After enjoying dinner at the restaurant, we confirm the plans for the next day in Owen's room. Vicky will be staying at a different hotel to meet her friend. Owen plans to go to an amusement park, so we, in our 60s, will do our own thing. The next time we'll all be together is at the airport on the day we return home.
For a family trip, we're all going to different places,
Owen says with a wry smile. As long as everyone enjoys the trip, that's what matters, I reply. You're right, mother-in-law. You always say the best things. Vicky's smile felt insincere to me. The next day, Blake and I spent the early morning touring art museums. Blake and I planned to go to a cafe, and I was heading to a market before we both returned to the hotel. I bought some famous croissants and strolled through the market while eating them. I found a lively shop and bought a croque monsieur and some cider. I sat on a nearby bench, planning to enjoy my meal. As I struggled with the stretchy cheese, I heard a couple's cheerful voices from the next bench. Jimmy, go ahead and eat.
Oh, the cheese got on my chin. Vicky, can you get it?
Oh, you're so helpless. The woman was a brunette American, and her partner seemed to be French, judging by his broken English. When I looked over, the woman who was scooping cheese off the man's chin with her finger and feeding it to him? It was uncomfortable to watch. I looked away, feeling embarrassed. But when I glanced back, I nearly fell off the bench. The woman canoodling with the man in broad daylight was none other than Vicky. I couldn't believe it, so I took another look. It was definitely Vicky. The man was a blonde, blue-eyed, handsome young man. I felt like panicking. Meeting friends is one thing, but cheating is another. Vicky seemed so engrossed in him that she didn't notice me. I shoved the now cold croque monsieur into my mouth, took a photo of Vicky with the Polaroid camera from a distance, and followed them as they left. They headed to a park, walked through the streets while being affectionate, and finally went to the riverside at dusk. The setting sun painted the town orange, and the peaceful sound of the river filled the air. As I peeked from behind a building, the man confessed his love to Vicky in the romantic atmosphere.
Vicky, I love you. I don't care that you're American or older than me.
I love you too, Jimmy. But we need my parents' approval to get married. I'll persuade them when we get back, so please wait a little longer. I almost burst into laughter at Vicky's amateur acting. Then a thought crossed my mind. Could this be marriage fraud? She hugged the disheartened man, promised to meet again, and they parted ways. Just as I was about to leave, another man appeared before Vicky. He was also a blonde, blue-eyed man. They walked along the beach at twilight, fed each other crepes at a cafe, and whispered sweet words. Vicky met 2 more men, making it 4 in total, and they disappeared into a hotel together. Exhausted, I returned to my hotel, at a loss for what to do. Should I tell Owen and Blake, or should I keep quiet? After much thought, I decided to keep quiet for now. The next day, rejuvenated, Blake and I took a cruise to tour the city. After disembarking, we explored the market together and enjoyed the rest of our trip before heading home. As Blake, Owen, and I waited in the airport lobby, Vicky appeared pulling a pink suitcase. Leaving me, who had already bought souvenirs at the market, the 3 of them went shopping at the duty-free store. As I sat idly on the sofa, Vicky returned and sat next to me, asking sympathetically, "Mother-in-law, it must have been tough not speaking French. Did you manage with broken phrases?" "Well, yeah, sort of." "Wow, you're brave. Can you let me hear it? I want to know what high school level French sounds like." Vicky continued to mock me. "Look, everyone around me is highly educated. The only high school graduate I know is Owen." "You married Owen, knowing he's a high school graduate, right?" I asked, holding back my anger, and Vicky responded in a cutesy tone. "Well, I prioritize looks and personality over education, but lately I've been regretting not marrying a college graduate who earns more. It's annoying how Owen is so cheerful even though he earns less than me." Just as I clenched my fist, Blake and Owen returned. Vicky quickly put on a fake smile and started chatting cheerfully with Owen. I didn't want to ruin our memories of the France trip by exposing Vicky's true nature here. I swallowed my anger, deciding to hold off until we got home. After handing off our luggage to our family and going to the restroom, I was about to proceed to the security checkpoint when I heard Vicky scream from behind, "Hey, give me back my luggage!" "Is there anything dangerous inside?" "What? Speak in a way I can understand." Vicky was yelling in English in response to the security officer's question. She was held up because her checked luggage had been flagged. Apparently, she couldn't understand the questions in French. Blake and Owen had already moved on, so I decided to stay and help. Our eyes met, and Vicky forcefully dragged me over to the security officer. With a malicious grin, she patted my back. "Here's your chance to show off your French skills, mother-in-law. You can speak it, right?" She wants to embarrass me in public. Fine, let's play along. I wonder if I can speak it well. Vicky looked at me, hesitating but smirking. I sighed and began to speak. "Excuse the inconvenience. I'm family with this person. You wanted to check the contents of the suitcase?" Vicky's eyes widened in disbelief at my fluent French. I've just given her a taste of authentic French, and she looks so foolish.
"Yes, could you tell her to please recheck inside?"
"Understood. Vicky, they want to look inside your suitcase." "Oh, why didn't you say so in the first place?" Grumbling, Vicky opened her suitcase. Inside was a brand new e-cigarette she had bought locally. The security officer pointed at it.
"You can't carry this in your suitcase."
"I see. Vicky, you can't keep the e-cigarette in your suitcase. It's okay if you take it in your carry-on." "Fine, I'll put it in my bag." The issue was quickly resolved with my intervention. As we headed to the departure lobby, Vicky spoke to me in a prickly tone. "You can speak French after all, mother-in-law. Tricking me like that? You're pretty nasty." "I had no intention of tricking you. I just didn't want to show off." Unlike some people, I thought to myself. "But if you're just a high school graduate, right? Did you self-study?" Vicky was astonished. After high school, I worked while attending a language school to learn French, and then studied abroad at a university in Paris. What? I wanted to study French literature, not just the language. I enjoyed long dinner parties, like in the movies, and exploring old towns. Living in a dorm and interacting with people from various countries was also interesting. Vicky frowned and looked down. Even though it was called Repatriate, it must have been mainly about interaction among the American community. Also, if you don't use a foreign language, you will forget it. Even if you graduated from an overseas university, Why are you a housewife? Vicky vented her frustration. I used to work for a global company. I quit when Blake was transferred because I had issues with the work environment. If I want to, I can always work as an interpreter. Just because you can speak a little French, you act so high and mighty. So, did you get friendly with any blonde, blue-eyed Frenchmen? That's unfair. The conversation took a sudden turn, and I was puzzled. Vicky, changing her tone, grabbed my shoulder and shook it, yelling without any restraint. If you had married a blonde, blue-eyed hunk, maybe Owen would have turned out that way too. Why did you marry father-in-law, another redhead? It doesn't make sense. The one who doesn't make sense here is you. I raised my voice. Passers-by glanced at us, puzzled. Look, even if a child is born with blue eyes and blonde hair, those features can change to brown as they grow up. Besides, Owen exists because I married Blake. My irritation grew with Vicky's rude comments. If you're so into blonde, blue-eyed men, why did you marry Owen? Annoyed, Vicky blurted out her true feelings. I settled for Owen because he's good-looking. There were no blonde, blue-eyed hunks around. But now, a friend has introduced me to some men in France. I see it as a chance to start over. I wanted to correct her. It's not an introduction, it's a date. But I held back and continued calmly. So you're planning to divorce Owen? I don't know yet. I'll decide after dating Jimmy and the others. But they all seem smitten with me, so remarriage might work out. A shiver ran down my spine at Vicky's devilish, vulgar laugh. She's openly declaring that she's dating multiple men while still married. She's not right in the head. I thought you two were happy. What a shame. I sighed. I'll have to tell Owen everything about Vicky's actions. It's for his own good. I searched my shoulder bag to present evidence of her affairs. But then I realized something. The Polaroid photos were missing. If it's a photo, I don't have one. Vicky smirked. I threw them away when you went to the bathroom. You're worse than me. Feel free to tell Owen everything, she said, grinning confidently. Really? That Vicky, who loves blonde, blue-eyed men, went on romantic dates with multiple men and ended up at a hotel? That the real reason for this France trip was to meet men? You're okay with me revealing all this? Owen loves me. Without evidence, he'll never believe you. You'll be the one in trouble for harassing his wife. Want to test who Owen will believe, his wife or his mother? I felt my body heat up with anger. My precious son is being manipulated by this woman. Good thing Owen isn't a mama's boy, so I'll be in your care for a while longer, mother-in-law, until I decide to dump Owen, Vicky said. I clenched my teeth and glared at her. I've put up with her insults because I thought they were a happy couple, but this is the last straw. What can I do to make her regret this? You're wasting your career, mother-in-law. Marrying some random guy and becoming a housewife. What a waste of life. If it were me, I'd have fun with various men. Oh, sorry. Distracted, Vicky bumped into a passerby and quickly apologized. She looked up and paled. Owen? Vicky, what was that about? It's not what you think. I was just arguing with mother-in-law. Weren't you going ahead with father-in-law? I came back because you were taking so long. Here, Mom. What? I was shocked to see what Owen was holding. It was the photo Vicky had supposedly thrown away. Owen casually told Vicky, who froze. You shouldn't throw this away, Vicky. It's evidence of your affairs. Well, I have copies anyway. What? Owen, usually so gentle, looked stern as he explained to the astonished Vicky. I got a tip from your old friend, Eliana. She said you were very interested when she mentioned some great guys in France, so I followed you just to be sure. I can't believe the real reason for inviting you on this family trip was to date multiple men. I'm disappointed. That idiot, Vicky muttered angrily. I don't mind if you're a fan of celebrities or actors, but cheating is where I draw the line. Owen spoke calmly and continued. Also, you've been making snide comments to Mom when Dad and I aren't around, haven't you? You thought we didn't notice, but we know everything. I was considering filing for divorce if this continued. This incident was the last straw. Thank you. Gritting her teeth, Vicky glared at Owen in anger and shouted, What's your deal? You're just a low-level salesman at a small company. Don't act so high and mighty when you earn less than me. Unfazed by Vicky's outburst, Owen responded coolly, "Didn't I tell you? I've been scouted by the parent company of my current workplace." "What?" Vicky was stunned. "I'll be transferring to the parent company in the spring. It's bigger than your company, so I'll easily surpass your salary." Vicky stared at Owen as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "One more thing. You seem to look down on Mom for working part-time, but she's valued by her boss for her skills in interpreting for foreign workers. Thanks to Mom, I can even speak conversational language. She's not wasting her career." Owen paused, then told Vicky in a stern tone, "Who do you think you are? Belittling Mom? You flaunt your repatriate title, but you haven't even bothered to learn French, and can barely understand it." Vicky bit her lip, unable to retort. "I can't forgive anyone who disrespects my parents. Let's get divorced." "Fine by me. I was planning on leaving you anyway. I feel relieved thinking about how much fun I'll have now." With a parting shot, Vicky turned and walked away. The atmosphere was heavy, a stark contrast to the excitement we felt on the way there. The real victim here was Blake, who had to sit next to Vicky for 8 hours. Having heard the details from Owen, Blake avoided eye contact with Vicky and kept reading a novel he brought. I was sitting next to Owen, but I wasn't in the mood to chat and just watched a movie absent-mindedly. Vicky, who was sitting behind Owen, seemed to be watching a movie the whole time as well. As soon as we landed in America, Vicky disappeared. She took only her luggage and left in a taxi without getting into Owen's car. My heart ached thinking about how Owen must feel. Perhaps sensing this, Owen remained cheerful until the end of the trip, waved goodbye to us with a smile, and went back to the house where Vicky was. Not long after, Vicky and Owen divorced. I heard from Owen that Vicky had quit her job. Apparently, one of Vicky's colleagues happened to pass by when she was arguing with us at the airport, and the story spread as a rumor within the company. Vicky had been fairly competent at her job, but she'd been arrogant with her colleagues and flirtatious with men. It seemed she was widely criticized as a result. The rumor even reached Owen's company and other business partners, making it difficult for Vicky to find a full-time job despite her career. To make matters worse, she was sued for marriage fraud by multiple men she'd been dating and had to pay a large amount of compensation from her savings. She got the apartment from Owen in the asset division, but couldn't afford the maintenance fees and had to move to an old small apartment. She's barely getting by, working multiple part-time jobs. Vicky's betrayal had us worried for Owen, both Blake and I. However, Owen would visit during his vacations and act as if nothing had happened. 2 years after the divorce, Owen introduced us to a new woman. She had a calm demeanor and seemed kind. Her greeting to Blake and me was polite, and it felt like this marriage would work out. Later, they had a cute grandchild, and Owen and his wife are doing well raising the child. Both Blake and I want to offer as much support as we can while watching over the young couple.